Ultimates have the most powerful singular impact in all of Overwatch. Smart, consistent ult use can help you dominate game after game and win tons of team fights altogether. That's why it's so problematic that many of you misuse your ultimates again and again. Specifically tank players, I see time and time again not get the value and impact out of their ultimates and don't get enough value to carry their DPS and supports. That's okay because GameLeap has you covered with the best tips for every single tank ultimate, breaking them down so that you can start using tank ults like a Grandmaster player. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Now let's kick it off with our first tank, Diva, with her ultimate, Diva Bomb. Now, Diva Bomb is an ultimate that during the early stages of Overwatch would regularly get 5 or 6 kills. That being said, these days, it seems to be getting shut out or avoided altogether in a way that you get no impact with Diva Bomb. Now, there are 2 big things to think about when trying to land a huge Diva ultimate. The first thing that you need to think about is enemy resources, like shields, speed boosts, and abilities. And enemy positioning, like how many of them are in the open, where's the natural cover, and how close they are to natural cover. If even a single enemy is caught out, you can use Diva Bombs to confirm kills. Take a Zen for example. He has no ultimate and is in the middle of an open area without being able to access cover in time. This is a perfect example of an enemy who doesn't have resources to avoid you, no ultimates, no movement abilities, no shields, and doesn't have good positioning to avoid you. He can't run around natural cover, and he can't get there in time to avoid the Diva Bomb. Now what you need to learn how to do is apply that knowledge to every single team fight, understand when enemies have low resources, understand when they're in poor positions, and capitalize on that with Diva Bomb. Next, in a sporadic team fight, sometimes you can't afford to set up Diva Bomb because your mech is getting pressured. You want to micro missiles and shoot the enemy main tank shield, launch a Diva Bomb in the air or behind them, and focus the shield all you can with Mini Diva. You could call to your allies to focus the shields as well, and if you can manage to break the enemy's shields just before your Diva Bomb explodes, you can get a team wipe with Diva Bomb looking to use their shield as an effective way to shut down Diva Bomb. This is especially more viable now that shields are nerfed dramatically, so definitely try to focus down shields and launch your Diva Bomb mid-fight. Now lastly, you need to really keep in mind that Diva is super underpowered without her mech. Honestly, the vast majority, 99% of her power level comes from her mech, and far too many divas will simply give up their mech. If you do not have your mech, you're not going to be able to get enough impact, and you're not going to be able to contest the areas that you need to. That being said, it's usually worth it wasting Diva Bomb if that means that you could just get your mech back. If you're under focus fire, even from the choke, and you lose your mech, sometimes getting a Diva Bomb that you know will get no one, but getting your mech back is the best way to go forward, because if you go into the next fight without your mech, you're honestly kind of useless and a liability for your team. Now moving on to the next tank on our list, we have IRISA with IRISA Supercharger. Now Supercharger is an incredibly strong tank ultimate because it massively amplifies the damage that your whole team does. It can completely decide team fights solo if used correctly. The biggest problem with Supercharger is that it can be destroyed. And also, if you use it too late, the enemies can engage and simply rush it down and destroy it. But if you use it too early, they'll simply kite away and you won't get effective impact out of it. Now to use Supercharger most effectively, you need to firstly time that activation correctly. This means trying to use Supercharger when you and your team can use its effect to whittle down enemy health, shields, before they make contact with your team. And like I said before, you don't want to do it too early so they can kite away. When the enemy has already invested resources such as speed boost to come towards your team, that's a great time to Supercharger so that they can't easily disengage and you can put in tons of damage into them. Now secondly, what you really need to think about is your Supercharger placement. You want to put it in a place where even if your shields go down, the enemy cannot focus it, but at the same time you want it to affect as many players on your team as possible. Behind corners, protected by natural cover is definitely the best. Also, position yourself in a way if the enemy's the one to push through and actually threaten the bongo, they're going to be taking tons of damage to do so, and they could lose the fight outright even if they destroy the bongo. There's only one way to make sure that you never lose the fight outright: coming to GameLeap.com. GameLeap.com is your best resource that you can find anywhere in order to improve. Coaches everywhere charge $10, $20, or even $30 an hour for their time, but GameLeap.com offers all of that for a fraction of the cost. We have in-depth VOD reviews, advanced tips, and gameplay analysis that will give you all the tools that you need in order to improve at a dramatic pace. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity, and I hope to see you there. Now moving on to the next tank on our list, we have Reinhardt with his ultimate, Shatter. Now everyone knows that Shatter is one of the most powerful CC abilities in the entire game. If learned to master, you can roll and smoke the enemy and dominate whole team fights with Shatter. When trying to shatter, let's first break down how to get off effective shatters. You need to understand exactly how shatter work. You can get blocked by objects like Maywall and natural covers, but also shields like opposing Rhine Shield and IRISA barrier. That being said, you can shatter stairs and payloads, and the shatter will climb up surfaces and travel through payload. What's important to understand is due to a number of factors like ping and game latency, you usually need to shatter when the enemy shields are low and catch them by surprise. surprise. This is why shattering in the Rhyme v Rhyme battle is a mind game more than a reaction game. That being said, there are some things that you can react to. If the enemy Rhyme fire strikes, you could shatter them at the start of the animation. So also while you're playing Rhyme, don't fire strike if you know the enemy has shatter, and look to shatter the second the fire strike animation starts for the enemy Rhyme. Also, shattering when the enemy shield is on the cusp of breaking can catch the whole enemy by surprise. Focus on IRISA shield, and right as it's breaking, before she deploys a new one, you can shatter that exact moment and shatter the whole enemy team. This is a mix of prediction and also anticipation, waiting for the right moment to strike. Now lastly, the easiest way to shatter the enemy is by pushing past shields. Think waiting for an IRISA to drop her barrier, speeding through, and shattering the whole enemy team. Just watch out for enemy CC that can stun you out of shatter, such as Briggs stun or McCree flash. Now when shattering enemies, make sure to identify whether you should swing or just pin. If the enemy team is pushed back with pin, sometimes it's hard for your allies to follow up. Short pins into a wall can definitely get value, but be careful of pinning enemies far away. Secondly, sometimes swinging is just better because you can do more damage to the things on the ground. This works far more effectively if you shatter them close to you as opposed to shattering enemies far away. Now if you're swinging at them while they're on the ground, make sure to rotate your body while you swing because it actually increases your hitbox for melee and can do damage to all the enemies on the ground. Now moving on to the next character on our list, Roadhog with his ultimate Whole Hog. Now, Whole Hog has extremely high potential to do one of the most devastating amounts of damage in the entire game. It also has an insanely powerful CC aspect of it, but I see time and time again players completely underutilize Roadhog's Whole Hog. The first biggest problem I see when using Whole Hog is players get super greedy. The thing to understand about Whole Hog, as well as it generates immense value, it also makes Roadhog extremely vulnerable. Slower movement speed, lots of noise notifying the enemy where he's at, and not being able to use his take a breather, which is one of his most effective ways at keeping himself alive. This means Roadhog is extremely susceptible to things like nade, sleep dart, or just getting focus fired altogether. This is why trying to go for insane 6-man Whole Hogs often ends up in a Roadhog just getting stunned, killed, or shut down altogether. What Whole Hog can do exceptionally well though is secure solo or duo kills. Imagine this example. You hook one member of the enemy team, one-shot him, and get pushed by someone else. You can easily Whole Hog them into a wall and secure a kill. In fact, Whole Hogging enemies into the wall is one of the best ways to secure kills on other tanks. Think something like Wrecking Ball. That annoying little rat is in your backline, just hook him and Whole Hog him straight into the wall. You can also do all kinds of stuff like bullying tanks by hooking a Rhine and Whole Hogging him right after you hook him. Whole Hog animation cancels, so that's another important aspect of it. You could do your regular one-shot combo and then go straight into Whole Hog if you didn't finish off a target. At the end of the day, try to generate value with Whole Hog, but understand your primary objective is to stay alive. Don't get overly greedy. If you got your value, don't be afraid to go behind natural cover and wait for your Whole Hog to end. This way, you can get your hooks back online, you'll take a breather, get back to full health before you re-engage, instead of trying to fish for tons more kills and dying as a result. Now, I know many of you in the comments have already stated how much more we push out DPS content than anything else. This is simply due to the fact that the support we get on the DPS content is way more than tanks and supports. So if you want to see this type of content more, smash that like button and let me know in the comments down below. This will allow me to make tons more tank and support content, so be sure to do this, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Now moving on to the next tank on our list, we got Sigma with his ult, Gravitic Flux. Now, Sigma's ultimate is actually one of the most impactful ultimates in the entire game. Not only does it do massive amounts of damage, it CCs enemies and can completely turn an entire team fight. There are a few things that you need to think about when activating Sigma ult. Understand that the enemy won't be completely killed when using it, so you want to be able to follow up either yourself or with your team. That's why calling your Sigma ult is very vital to your teammates so they can get in position to follow up. Secondly, also keep in mind that Sigma is pretty vulnerable when he starts his ultimate. If you get CC'd before you actually cast Sigma ult, your ultimate can get cancelled. This is why you should be paying attention to things that can CC you, especially from long range. Also, keeping track of cooldowns that can get people out of Sigma's ultimate, such as Ice Block and Morphade, can be really important if you're trying to get effective Gravitic Fluxes off. Also, keep in mind that you can play behind natural cover with Sigma and slide in your ultimate in a way that you don't completely expose yourself. You don't have to fly as high as you can out in the open, where you can get easily headshotted by an enemy Widow or Hanzo. Now, moving on to the next character on the list, we have Winston with his ultimate, Primal Rage. Now, Primal Rage is one of the most fun ultimates in the entire game of Overwatch, and when mastered, you can definitely get tons of impact. Primal Rage instantly puts Winston's health to 1000 HP, meaning he's really hard to burst down, and with his CC ability, he can boot people off the map over and over. Now, the biggest mistake that I see with Primal Rage is not focusing a target and having a plan in mind. One of the best things that you could do with Primal Rage is first engage with your regular amount of health, do as much damage to a target as you possibly can before you're really low and whittled down. Then you pop Primal Rage, instantly getting full health and being able to all in a target and confirming kills. You can also do all kinds of plays like booping enemies off the map, but the important thing that you need to think about is having a plan in mind before you pop Primal Rage. I've seen far too many Winstons simply pop Primal Rage, go at the whole enemy team and just knock them around like crazy. They might CC the enemy, but they get little to no value and they ultimately just die instead. If you're just trying to marginally disrupt the enemy, something like Hammond would be way better. With Winston's Primal Rage specifically, you can target that CC and focus one target or make a boot plan to have immense impact. The last thing that you need to do on Winston is practice your Primal Rage mechanics. This can be done in a lot of different ways, simply playing the game of Overwatch and trying to practice if you can, or going into a practice range with a permanent Primal Rage to help you practice the movement of Winston can help you become that master Primal Rager. Moving on to the second to the last character on our list, Wrecking Ball, with his ultimate, Mines. Now moving forward, I'm going to call him Hammond, and Hammond's mines are extremely impactful when used correctly. There's several things you need to think about when using mines so that you don't have these ineffective mines that get no value. Firstly, there's a time to activation on each and every mine. There's a 0.1 second of deployment and a 1.5 seconds after sticking to a surface of activation. This means that if you just mine right on top of them without CCing them at all, they can often get out of its effective range before the mines actually become online. This is why a common practice is to mine above enemies, slam down on them, so that when the mines hit the ground and activate, they'll be CC'd in the air so that when they fall back on the ground, the mine's already active and it explodes right on top of them. This could be replicated in a lot of different ways, but essentially just keep that activation time in mind. The second thing you need to think about is that all the mines will stick to the first wall they touch. If you ult near the ceiling of a map that has a roof, it can actually stick to the ceiling and none of the mines will fall. That's because they touch the wall and they won't fall down, meaning that you might not get any value out of them at all. Keep this in mind when activating them, but you can also use this advantage in tight corridors. You can completely block off an entry or exit choke point because your mines will stick to all the walls around it. Also, another way to get value out of Wrecking Ball's mines is put them in hot zones where the enemy team has to kite. You could do things like put mines between the enemy and the point and then touch point to pressure it so they can't easily funnel to point because your mines are all in the way. You can also set up plays where you boop enemies into your mines. So think about all the creative things you could do with Wrecking Ball and you can have way more consistent mines on average. Now moving on to the last tank on our list, we have Zarya with her ultimate Graviton Surge. Now, we all know Zarya's classic ultimate is one of the most powerful ultimates in the game and the best ultimate for comboing. Now, consistently comboing with a teammate is almost guaranteed to get you value. That being said, there are other creative ways you can use Zarya, and I often see Zarya's use this incorrect. The first thing that Zarya's don't know is when you do your alternate fire, it actually follows the exact same path as your Graviton Surge will. This means that you can pre-fire and see exactly where the Graviton Surge will land, so that means you can chuck Graviton Surges from longer range and hit the exact spot that you're trying to aim for. Secondly, the biggest mistake that I see Zarya's is they get far too greedy. It's last fight 90 to 99% and you have to win it. The whole enemy is spread and there's no clear grab target in sight. The Zarya panics and misses her grab altogether or doesn't grab anybody. The problem here is the Zarya is greedy. She's looking for that gigantic 6-person ultimate to clear the point and win the team fight convincingly. That being said, grabbing 2 solo people off to the side or even 1 single person can get you an easy kill and allow you to take the fight as a 6v5. Keep in mind that if you win the team fight anyways, it doesn't matter if you get that giant 6-man kill or if you simply get a pick and it allows you to win the team fight. Don't get overly greedy when using grab. You definitely don't have to be, and confirming kills on 1 or 2 guaranteed people that are off to the side could be an easy way to get value. Also, when enemies are trapped in a graph, you can alternate fire plus melee to burst them down immensely, and just like with the Rhine tip, you can rotate Zarya's body in order to melee everyone in the graph. Now, for those of you who are dedicated to learn each and every one of these tanks, or you want to see advanced examples or VOD reviews covering in depth all the things that you see in this guide, well then you need to definitely check out GameLeap.com. We have the highest quality guides handcrafted by GAM plus players, and on top of that, we have more content than you will find anywhere. You don't have to take my word for it, there's tons of free content on the website, and GameLeap offers a 10-day money-back guarantee, so I hope to see you there. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. I hope this guide has been extremely helpful for you tank players. Any other video guides that you want to see or VOD reviews, please let me know. Also, any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time.